It's a ceremony. We're going to get some LSD too.
You pull out the mushrooms. If they don't know what the mushrooms are, you just like put your tongue out. Take it. You're here now.
Okay, done. Sorry, this is like fucking smoking up the house.
Fine.
Well, let's get the show on the road, eh?
Let's do it.
Yo, hello out there. This is, if you don't know, now you know. My name's Mr. Hecker. Thank you for joining us here today. And our guest we have on the show today, Tamara. How are you?
Hello. I am well, thank you, Luke. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, no, thank you very much for coming here actually and being on the show. Sorry about this stuff here.
Love some Palo. Get some Palo in us.
First of all, let's kick it off. I like to give the plugs at the start of the podcast. Give us your handle. Where can we find you? Where's your Instagram? Where's all the platforms at?
Insta's probably the main one. Insta and Facebook. Send us a friend request, Tamara Northam, or at Instagram at Tamara Northam. Nothing fancy about it.
What if they want to slip into the DMs? Like, what's the best one to get you on?
Probably Instagram.
Insta?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on TikTok and Twitter and a few things, but Insta's the place to be.
Okay, that's where you get into the DMs. Okay.
Slide
Note
on
taken.
in.
Note taken. Okay. Let's go. Just before we get into the deep stuff, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what brought you here today? How are you today?
Well, my car brought me here today. Just for clarification. A little bit about me. So I am 26 years young. I'm a solo mama of a 2.5-year-old boy. I am a business coach. That's my quote unquote label.
That's what you're going under?
But what I really do is I activate women and mothers into seeing the potential for their life that they can create and not settling for something less than what they want to create in their life so that they can live a life of freedom with their kids, with their families around that, rather than have to be a victim to societal norms and have to go back to the corporate job and have to go back to, having the kids in daycare 5 days a week and only being able to put them to bed and being a parent on the weekends. Like, that is where my real passion lies, is empowering women to break free from that. I'm lots of things.
Yeah, I know. We're going to get into those things. And I just want to say a big thank you as well, because you've had me on your podcast as well.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was the very second one. I think the very second podcast I ever did, you had me on. So,
I think you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that as well, and I acknowledge you that because that was a really it was really good for me to come on there and tell my story as well. And you put me under the pump on some questions too. So I'm like, well, how do I get you back?
Yeah, we've done full circle here. I'm like, fuck, what's he going to throw at me?
No, I won't be like that today. But
that's okay. All vulnerable here anyway. So.
Yeah. I'm thinking, holy shit, people are going to be thinking we're Dutch in this place up. It's quite smoky in here, eh? I'm just like looking at it, I'm like, lucky this room is inside another room, because if this was outside, people think we're in here smoking it up. But we're not that lucky today, so we're going to have to just use our imagination today and dive into the questions.
Delicious.
Let's go with it.
Let's roll with it.
Okay. How are you feeling today?
How am I?
Or how have you been today? Because I feel this. Can I have a guess and use my intuition here?
Go for it.
You've been feeling very off, and like, I don't know what happened, but I felt like today was a really big shift for something. I'm not too sure what it was, but it was kind of like that make or break moment where it happened, and you were like, okay, done. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's time to move on, and I feel like that was like I don't know. Speaking to it. I could be wrong too, but
thank you for your reflection on that. And yeah, you're a little bit off, but so nothing has happened. And this is what I was sharing on my social media. Like, I'm very open with everything that I share. I'm very vulnerable with everything. Like, my social media, if you follow me, it's not just a highlight reel. I share the challenging times as well as the good times, because that's life. It's, if I'm painting a false picture of myself, then what am I empowering other people to aspire to? That's not what I want to show people and show the women that I serve, that's what they should be inspiring to have this perfect life when nothing ever shakes you. We have this human experience, and that comes with challenges. It comes with learning and growth, and that sometimes looks messy and it sometimes looks painful. And The last couple of days, particularly probably over the last week, it's been building up. I've just had a few shifts happen in my life, and like I said before, like nothing on the surface has really happened. Like nothing has happened, but I've just gained a little bit more awareness. Like we're all spiritual beings. We all have a spirit, and I like to think that I am quite in touch with my spirit, and I can sense when there's something lingering there that wants my focus and wants my attention. So I've just been spending a little bit more time and energy on that focus over the last few days, and I've been peeling back a few layers of some patterns that I've been running pretty much my whole life. And I had a really amazing breakthrough this morning, but in order to get to that breakthrough, I had to have the breakdown first. So yeah, I love it. Yay. So yeah, today has been a really interesting day. You know, like heck, you messaged me this morning, like, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, I'm feeling really tender today. Can I just give you a cuddle and we talk about it? Yeah. But yeah, I literally like probably spent until 1 o'clock this afternoon in bed, just having a cry, cuddling my dog, having a nap, waking up, you know, having some intimate moments with my puppy dog, and then having a cry again. And moving through that, it was so powerful. And I think like so many people are taught to fear their emotions and to fear when uncomfortable or sticky things come up. And like I speak from experience in this as well, because it's what I've been conditioned to do, is just shove it down, distract myself, numb myself. And I've really just given it time and space over the last couple of days to come to the surface, and it's come to the surface, and now it's fucked off, so we good.
That's it. Yeah, that's the process, and that's how it looks.
Yeah, because like you can't have, it's very naive to think that you can experience all the joy and all the fun and all the love in life if you're not willing to, like life is full of duality. If we're not willing to look at the darkness, if we're not willing to lean into the painful conversations and the uncomfortable feelings and shift uncomfortable emotions, it's like how you do anything is how you do everything. If you're numbing yourself or avoiding those lower vibrational emotions because you just don't want to feel it or don't want to deal with it, it's going to mean that you're physically unable to truly feel those higher vibrational emotions, because you can't have one without the other. You need to have the dark and the light, the good and the bad, you know.
When you're just coming up there, there's two things I want to touch on. Mm-hmm. How you're talking about like the highlight reel and everything. What popped up was when I remember you posted that photo and like you're pulling a face on Instagram or something. You remember? Like, see, I love that. I love that. That's like one of my favorite things. And then the second thing was the highlight reels as well, and like everyone's like, yeah, I had a breakthrough. I'm like, yeah, cool. I don't care. I'm like, tell me about the breakdown.
Yeah, right. It's like I want to see the depth. Like I don't just want to know what shiny thing you've got at the end of it. Like I want to hear what you had to go through. I want to hear the struggle. I want to hear how much you had to like bare your heart and be vulnerable and trust that something good was going to come on the other side. That's where the juice is. That's what I want to hear about, because that's where you see people's heart, and that's where people's that's
where those true stories are from as well. Like you want to look at someone's like I always like, this is when I want to look at your blooper reel. I don't want to look at your highlight reel. I'm like, cool, everyone's got one of them. So it's usually everywhere. Yeah. I can look that shit up on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah. Where's your blooper reel, man? I'm like, pull that shit out. Give me a look at that. I want to have let me see what's behind closed curtains, because that's what interests me, and that's where the news is. That's where the lessons are. That's where all the stories that are worth telling are right there.
And the medicine, I find so much medicine in sharing my journey as well. Like I had a few people reach out. I did a post on Instagram this morning. If you're a nosy Parker, go have a squiz at it. It's what's the date today? 12th. Check out my post from today anyway. But I had a few people reach out to me and be like, "Oh, you okay? What happened?" Blah blah. Like trying to, you know, go into that wounded, like, "Oh, let me fix it. How can I make it better for you?" And I'm like, no, like this is a process. This is part of being human. Like I'm just sharing this as a permission piece for other people to see that like it's okay. I don't want you to put me on a fucking pedestal, because I'm a human just like you. I have challenges. I have, you know, some days I'm not coming from love and I say some shitty things or I do shitty things or, you know, and then other days I'm like, you'd think that I'm the most enlightened person ever. And that's the human experience. Like
that's the bean.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
And I love that as well. And I would really love to normalize the fact that you can be that way. Like things can be a bit fucked up some days.
Yeah. Amen.
And everyone's
it doesn't
like,
define you.
whoa, you okay? I'm like,
yeah, like, oh, you're having a hard time. It's like, nah, I'm just having a day.
just going for it, brother.
Yeah.
Hang on and just watch. I'm like, yeah, we're just going to ride this one out, feel it, and then we're going to free it and we're going to fuck it off.
Yeah, that's it. Like there's this quote that I love and I say it all the time to my clients and people close to me. It's like, face it, feel it, free it. That's the process. Like you can't, outside of that, there's nothing outside of that. Like if you want to free it, if you want to face it, you got to feel it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always just trying to face it and free it.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are in those two things. They're like, yeah, okay, I did the wrong thing. Let's go, move on.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the wounded masculine as well. And this part of the breakthrough that I had this morning, that like a lot of my pain that I was suppressing was around not trusting my inner masculine, because my inner masculine was playing out from this wounded place of like, oh, when something goes wrong, I'm going to try and control the situation or I'm going to take action. Like people have always said to me my whole life. So it's reaffirmed this belief for me. They've always said to me like, oh, you know, you're a go-getter. And like, as soon as you decide on something, you make it happen. And like, while yes, that's true. And while I love that part of me, it also can be very destructive because it comes from that wounded place of like, needing to control the situation, and that's a wounded masculine trait. So that was one of the breakthroughs that I had this morning, that like we don't have to control everything. You can just
let go.
Yeah, let go and just trust. And it's easier said than done, but if we, you know, can acknowledge where we're acting from, then we can make a change. But if we're not even knowing what the hell is going on,
I think I picked that up from smoking weed. Hey, like legit. I know that's kind of what.
You gotta just ride it out.
Just like so, but you know, then I'm on the opposite side because I love control as well to a certain extent. And I'm like, nah, fuck it.
Yeah.
But
It's really interesting actually that you say that, because when I was younger, so when I was in my teens, I always I wasn't a party animal much when I was a teenager. I was like real good in school and was like school captain and blah, blah, all the things. But the few times that I did like experiment with drugs and alcohol and I'd smoke weed, I would green out, as they say, and I wouldn't be able to handle it, and I'd just be
You're that person, are you?
I was.
Come on. You're that rookie that comes to the party and greens out.
Yeah, that's like, I'm tripping out.
I used to get stoned and laugh.
Yeah, that was me when I was like 17. But now as an adult, like if I have a plant medicine journey or something like that, it's just this, it's interesting because one of my biggest lessons in my life is releasing the control. But when I have a journey with plant medicine, that's when I feel like so open to that. Like I just surrender straight into it. So I have these, like I've only ever had really beautiful experiences in my adult life. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic as well. What was what was childhood like for you? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up with my two sisters and my mum. My dad wasn't in the picture until I was about 9 years old. I have, the memories that I do have are really beautiful. However, I've realized over the last couple of years how little memories I actually have of my early childhood. Like I can't really remember much of when I was 12 and younger, and I think a lot of that is due to, things were pretty tough in my family. Single mum with 3 young girls. It was, money was tight. She had to work a lot. The reason I didn't have my dad in my life is because when I was a really young child, he was a drug addict, so we had to flee. So we were in like women's homes and under protective services and that sort of thing. So there was a lot of memories that I've suppressed from my childhood. And yeah, like I have a really strong bond with my sisters. We've always been really close and we are still really close. But there is a lot of healing still to be done there because of our upbringing. There was, our mum was present physically, but emotionally she wasn't really present. She was doing the best that she could with what she knew, but we didn't have our father in the picture, and our mum was there to cook us meals and to bathe us and, feed us and dress us and stuff like that. But in terms of our emotional security, there wasn't much there. So all three of us have grown up not really understanding what that emotional security should feel like and seeking it in other areas. I learned at a young age that the way that I could get that security and that certainty and get that feel that sense of significance from other people was to be really good at things. So I was the high achiever in school. I was school captain. I was sports captain. I was always, on the debating team, always getting academic awards. And that was how I learned. That was the pattern that I learned when I was younger, that I could stand out and feel special and get that extra bit of love. And it manifested slightly different for both my sisters, but it has come up in all three of us in that way. Like, we've all developed our own little thing that has been our way of getting that significance, and whether it's been relationships, whether it's been being flirtatious with boys, whether it's been acting out or being really like the bad girl. Yeah, it's manifested quite differently in all three of us, but the core wound there has been really present with all three of us. So actually that's something that came up. So for anyone that's listening, like, you're talking about plant medicine, if you're like, where? I urge you to just don't knock it if you haven't tried it. Yeah. For starters.
Beautiful experience.
Yeah, it is a beautiful experience, and I've only had a couple of experiences with it in my life, but the experiences that I have had have been absolutely magical. And the first one that I ever had, my granddad was present. My granddad came and he was with me, and I was crying. Because I wanted to be with my sisters. So I was really upset while I was in this journey, because all I wanted, my sisters both live up in Cairns. For context for anyone, I'm on the Gold Coast, so I don't get to see them very much. And they both have children. My older sister has a son who's 1, and my younger sister has a 5-year-old and a 5-month-old. And I don't get to see them very much. So a lot of sadness came up for me on this particular medicine journey. And my great-granddad, who was the only man in my family on my mum's side, and when he passed away about 15 years ago, the female, he was the patriarch of the family. And when he passed away, all the females in my mum's side of the family sort of just broke away from each other. Like, all the feminine wounds came to the surface, and there was no like masculine energy to balance it all out. So they've just, I don't see my grandma nearly as much as I used to, even like growing up in my teens. Now I'm an adult, so I can make the decision to go see her, but we're not as close as we were when he was still alive. And so he came to me in this journey and he said, you need to heal your sister wounds, and you need to connect with your sisters, because this female, like these feminine wounds are only going to continue to get passed down to your future daughter, to your nieces, and it's going to keep perpetuating. It's your responsibility, Tamara, to break this cycle. And I was like, fuck, that's a big responsibility.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers for that one.
Pass it on.
Yeah. And since then I have made it a really strong intention to heal the relationships with my sisters and heal with myself, and be the leader to show them how they can heal as well. I'm
taking it you're the oldest?
No, I'm the middle.
Oh, in the middle?
I'm the middle, yeah.
Okay. I'm the middle one too.
There you
I'm a
go.
middle child as well.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything you want to touch on, any particular topics that you'd like to touch on, and things like how to heal that relationship, or what that looks like for you? Have you ever visioned and thought what that actually looks like? Say you want to build that relationship with your sisters, whether it's a year down the track, 2 years down the track, what that actually looks like. What does that look like for you?
Well, for me, because of my conditioning, because of what I had learnt was my way to stand out, was to like be the best at everything, was to be the smart one, be the athletic one, be the one that gets picked for school captain and all the awards and stuff like that. So a big part of my the piece that I had to really integrate before I could even start working on my relationship with my sisters was to let go of that for myself and be okay with the imperfection, because I couldn't possibly help them heal and help us heal as a collective if I was still running from a wounded place. So that was a big piece, and that's why I've been sharing a lot more of my the depth of my journey on social media in particular to show people and to my sisters, because we don't, if I was to directly call them and be like, hey, this is what's going on for me, they'd probably be like, what the fuck? Yeah. But I know that they see my stuff online, so it's like an indirect way. A
soft release.
Yeah, of showing them like, hey, like this is what's going on for me. If you're feeling something similar, it's okay to come to me with it and that sort of thing. And really just connecting with them, and something like this year particularly, I've been doing a lot of work around because when I say healing sisterhood, it's strong within me and my actual blood sisters, but also with the female connections that I had in my life. Like I've had friends my whole life, but the depth of the relationships that I've had with females has been very surface level my whole life, because of my wounding that I had when I was a child. I always saw other females as competition, as someone that could, like if I shone a light on them, or if I celebrated them, or if I lifted them up, then it would affect how much love and attention that I would get. And this is all subconscious, of course, but I just noticed how that was playing out with all my female friendships. I was really keeping them at an arm's length, and I'd like be there for them and like offer them support, but then in the times that it really counted, I wouldn't be there, or I'd be emotionally absent, or I would be there for them, but I wouldn't allow them to be there for me. So I was playing the whole Lone Ranger as well. So I'd never reach out when I was experiencing something. I'd just be like, I'll deal with it myself. And that lack of vulnerability meant that there was no like, how you do anything's how you do everything. So if I'm not being vulnerable with them, but I'm trying to get them to be vulnerable with me, that's fucking backwards.
Yeah, you're asking for two different things at the same time. You're showing something, but and then you're asking for that. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's confusing as well.
Yeah.
What, like, is there any traits or anything that you want to speak into about, like, what's going on there with the relationship? Is there anything else?
Like specifically with my sisters, or with?
Yeah, with sisters, because they might be listening to this.
Love you guys. If
it might be a little soft entry to, reach out and have that conversation, because and even with me, this is definitely something I can work on with my family as well. And I've been making the conscious decision to slowly, I think they're a lot more open to it now. Me doing the work that I do, it's like at first it's probably a little bit like off, and my brother's younger as well. And like, I'm like, look, I'm not going to push him into anything. I feel like, I was like, when I was his age, he's a couple years younger. Actually, kind of when I was his age, I was, it was very different. So I'm like, look, I don't like for me, in a little bit of me, I'm like, I didn't want to ever ruin his youth. Yeah, in a way, like because like I was thinking, I'm like, for a little bit. Even like going through the system and doing this thing, I was like, oh man, just go out there. And I'm like, go out there and just fuck some things up. Like I feel like there's some times when he's kind of looking for some advice. Yeah, and I've been like in my head, I'm like, just fuck it up, I'm all good. Like, I'm like, I know when he'll be ready, and I'm like, we'll go to these chats.
That's it. Like, people are only going to meet you at that place when they're ready. And I think for a long time, and I was only doing the best with what I knew as well, but I would try and like coach my sisters and my family, or try to quote unquote support them, but it would come across as patronizing or judging,
raising yourself up here, and then like trying to like shoot down some advice to them. That's a really thing they may not understand. So it's like you got to come from a different place. Like you got to try, you got to take it from a very different angle. Otherwise, you can be very easy categorized as like, okay, we don't listen to her. Yeah,
like I'd had feedback from them being like, oh, you think you're better than us, and you're trying to,
Did you fight? Did you fight her sisters?
Oh, yeah. Like,
was it like hair pulling, or was it getting crazy and shit?
Oh, look, it got a bit wild sometimes. My boyfriend when I was in grade 12, Joey, if you're ever listening to this, he
what did he do?
He lived with us.
Okay.
He pretty much lived with us when I was in grade 12, and he can contest to this. Like, it would break out in World War III in our household if like one of us stole another one's hairbrush.
Oh,
like,
no.
What the fuck, man? You stole my clothes, you bitch. Like, it was pretty wild. But again, it's like we had an absence of that masculine energy in our house, so we were constantly just like fighting for the same thing, and it would come up in different ways for all of us. But definitely like, to in a roundabout way to answer your original question, the biggest thing that I've learned that's going to help me, and hopefully anyone that's listening can use this as well if you resonate with anything that I'm talking about, is that like no one's gonna change until they're ready, and you can't project onto someone else how you think they should change, because what's real for them is always going to come to the surface if you create the environment that allows them to feel safe in coming to that place. So I lead by example now. I don't push any of my beliefs or my philosophies onto my family when I have conversations with them, and I'm just constantly just like, you know, sometimes it might be a little bit over the top, but it's okay, because I know that the day will come where they actually need it. But I'm always like, how are you? Like, talk to me. What's going on? And they're like, I'm fine. Fuck off.
Yeah.
But I know that one day they're going to be like, actually, I'm really struggling. And they're going to open up to me. So like creating that space so that they know that they can come to you, and that you're not going to just judge them or try to give them advice or try to fix it or try to coach them through it. Yeah, I'm just like,
I always say all in good time.
Yeah.
All in good time.
Yeah. Timing is never off.
Like,
never off.
Oh, no, I need to do this and he needs that. And I'm like, nah, he doesn't.
Nah, he doesn't.
He ain't going to listen anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're wasting my time and his time and your time.
Yeah.
I'm like, he'll come when he's ready.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
they're like, no, he needs you to go help him, or he needs this. I'm like,
yeah. It's interesting that, because like when we try to project onto someone else that they need something, it's like, what are we not willing to look at in ourselves? Because like, if you truly are coming from a place of love, you know that people are going to come to things when they're ready, when they're good and ready. But if you feel like you have this need of like, oh, you know, my boyfriend, he does this and he really needs to change, but nothing will get him to change. How can I get him to change? Honey, you can't, because what you're trying to do is actually fulfill a need that you have that's going unmet. And by having him change, quote unquote change, you're not actually fixing him. What you're doing is you're trying to fix yourself. So how about you try to fix yourself first? Yeah. And then see what transpires from that.
Relationships is one of those things I've definitely not a strong point for me, and I've been learning a lot.
I know we touched on relationships when I interviewed you. That was a fun time.
And it's just one of those things that I'm like consistently learning, and I always question and ask people about, because I'm like, oh, I'm eager to learn. This is where I get to learn, and then everyone has a different perspective about it. Relationships for you, what are they like? What do they look like? Whether they're are we going down this alley?
Yeah, we can go down
there.
Can
we? Can we?
Yeah,
okay. That means we're going down the right alleyway then, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. Cheryl.
Do we get burn this bad?
Get the Palo Santo out. Let's go. So my son's 2.5, and I separated with his father when he was 4 months old. So that definitely took me by surprise. And I held on to the relationship in the form of our businesses that we had together. I was not willing to walk away for a long time, because I was still holding on to this fantasy of what my life was meant to be, and not being willing to accept that, okay, this is actually your reality, and that's okay. It's not going to be the picture that you thought you had in your head. Like, I was like, we're going to open these businesses, have a baby, get married, live the rest of our lives happy as Larry, and then boom, 4 months later, it was like, what?
Fairy tale.
Yeah.
You know what? I know when I first met, I didn't know you had a daughter either.
Son.
Oh, son. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a daughter.
I have son. I was like, I never knew that you had a baby. I was like,
there you go.
I'm like, how did I not know this? And it was very interesting for me, because then I obviously learned your backstory. I'm like, oh shit, and that must have been very recent around that time, because I was
probably not long after we met. Yeah. So I moved to the Gold Coast. I knew that in order for me to heal from that relationship and to move forward in my life, I needed to completely change my life. So it was the single most courageous thing I've ever done in my life. And I think back now and I'm like, fucking props to you, girl. But I walked away from everything I knew. All the people. I lived on the Sunshine Coast my entire life. So a place that I grew up in, the people that I grew up with, my businesses, my clients, all my friends, absolutely everything that I knew. I walked away from. I packed a couple of bags of clothes and I came and stayed with a friend at the Gold Coast and shut the door on that life.
Done.
And that brought up a lot of grief for me. So I spent probably a good 6 months of 2019. So I moved in probably March, and then I spent probably the next 6 months grieving the life that I had created for myself, and everything that I had, like my whole identity was attached to everything that I had on the Sunshine Coast.
Just like this wounded woman just...
Yeah, just like
dry
I
work
felt
for
like
that.
an empty shell because I was like, everything that I thought I knew about me is just gone. I've
That
just walked
whole
away from
identity, the community, the
Yep.
people.
Yep.
Years and years and years.
Yeah, just like literally
Done.
in the click of a finger, just gone. And it was a beautiful opportunity for me to wipe the slate clean and start from scratch. And that's why I have been able to get where I am, because I started from that clean slate, but I had to go through a grieving process first. And I denied the grieving process from when me and my son's father, I just want to clarify as well, we have a beautiful relationship now. But when we first separated, there was a lot of pain. We didn't know how to process ourselves. We weren't communicating effectively. So shit got real pretty quick.
I don't think anyone has a good one of those.
Yeah.
Where they split for that, like that, whether it's like 2 months, 6 months, or a year. I don't feel like that's any of that time's a good time.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of uncomfortable
We
moments
projected a lot of stuff onto each other as well, so it just perpetuated it. Like, it could have been a lot shorter than it was had we have just owned our own shit, but we were just like, I was blaming him, he was blaming me, we were blaming the businesses, and it was just like this round robin of shit.
Take extreme ownership and just be like, down.
Yeah, and we were not taking extreme ownership. We were spiritual bypassing the fuck out of that one.
Oh,
just
yeah, let's go. That's all right, though.
Yeah.
Hey, looking back at that time and that situation, that was like 2 years ago.
2 years
2 years ago.
Yep.
Biggest lesson out of that. And on the back of that, if someone else is in a situation like that right now, what's some advice?
I was listening to this beautiful song this morning by Trevor Hall, and it's called Don't Rush Your Healing. And it was one of my songs I was playing when I was having a good little cry in my bed. And don't rush your healing. Like, if you're going through a big transition in your life, allow yourself some time and space. Like, if it's going to take a couple months, it's going to take a couple months. If it's going to take a couple weeks, it's going to take a couple of weeks. Like, be okay with doing your process however you need to do it, as long as you keep leaning into it and you're not shying away from it. Like, my process dragged out to about 18 months when it could have been a couple of months, because when I finally did make the decision to walk away, it was 6 months. And then literally I woke up one day, and like, if you go back through my social media, if you go back through my Facebook, you could probably fucking pinpoint the day that I woke up and was just like, I'm a new woman. I'm done with this.
Voila.
Moving on. And literally since then, it's just been like boom, 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 boom. Like, life's just been giving me new opportunities, just so much abundance been coming my way. But I had to go through that breakdown and go through that grieving process in order to get to that state of acceptance. Because if I didn't reach that state of acceptance, then I would just be numbing everything else that I was trying to feel: the anger, the sadness, the denial, the like trying to negotiate with the universe. And
good old life, hey?
Yeah,
it delivers.
Does deliver.
Especially
sometimes
when you're open to receiving.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't. And this is something that I'm going to say preach, but I don't preach it. But it's something that I speak into a lot, is to have high intention with your life, but low attachment to how it looks. So if you've got so what that means is, like, if you want something to change in your life, have the highest and utmost intention for the result, but be willing to see it come to you in however it wants to look.
Many different ways.
Yeah, it could come in so many different ways. Like, say, for example, when I was in my relationship, I was actually really unhappy. So it was all like, it's done a full circle. I was unhappy in my relationship. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I knew he wasn't my soulmate, but I was like, oh, we've created this picture for our lives and let's do that. But there was always this desire in the back of my mind of like, I really want something more in life. I want something deeper. I want a deeper connection. I want to find my soulmate. And I knew that it wasn't him. So with what happened in our relationship, even though it was so painful at the time, and I was like, why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? How is so many things came up. In hindsight, I look back and I'm like, it was actually the universe delivering you exactly what you asked for, because you weren't going to be willing to let go of it in any other way. Like, it needed to be taken from you because you weren't willing to let go of that, but you wanted something more. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you would have learned so many lessons on the back of that.
Fuck.
Well,
Every day.
Every
day.
I, like, a couple of years ago, if I look at my past relationships, I was like, I was kind of a lot of regret. I was like, fucking shit. Like, now I'm like, I'm so happy they all happened. So happy.
Yeah.
Because where I am now, I'm a very good place, and I know I'm open and welcoming exactly what I want.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I know exactly what I want.
Yeah.
And I've never been in that position before.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never been so clear on it. And I'm like,
that's really beautiful. I can really resonate with that as well.
I'm like, shit, man. I'm like, it's kind of, it's very, it was a very weird spot for me to be for a little while, and I didn't know how to be here. Yeah. I got some advice from people. I'm like, and they're like, no, you're in this, where you are now is, you actually know what you want. And I'm like, oh shit, I do.
Yeah,
I was like, but like legit here, know what I want. And I'm like, I was like, oh no. I was like, yeah,
I can relate to that. I think like I stayed single for a while because I knew that there was a lot of healing. I wasn't going to be able to be my best self in a relationship and heal from those things if I just jumped straight into a relationship. So I stayed single until earlier this year, probably February. Then I dated a man for about 3 months, and that's the first relationship experience that I've had since I split with my son's father, and it was beautiful. I'm really grateful for that experience. It really like initiated me into a safe love, because I think I was very guarded and I was very fearful of a relationship, because my experience had taught me that, you know, you be vulnerable with someone and you can fall in love with someone, but they could really fuck you up. And so that experience like allowed me to soften back into my feminine and really experience a safe love. And that, you know, people are in your life for a reason or a season or a lifetime, and there was definitely an expiration date on that one. And I hear what you're saying. I feel like, you know, being single, I deeply desire to share my life with someone. There's no doubt about that. But don't mistake that for wanting to find a partner, like searching and hunting for a partner, because I know that, you know, I know my future husband is going to come to me when the time is right and the energy is right, and I'm not going to have to force it. It's just going to happen. That is different to being like, I'm lonely, I want to find someone.
Yeah, that's a trait where a lot of men get stuck in as well.
Men and women, everyone, you know, because it's comfortable. And I recently had an entanglement with a beautiful man, and we'll see where that goes. But what it has showed me is how easily it is, and this is probably why some of this stuff has surfaced over the last week for myself, but it showed me and reminded me how easily it is that, like, as soon as you have someone there, how you can just treat them as like your safety blanket, and then all of a sudden you don't have to look at your shit, and you can like just distract yourself and be like, oh, I don't need to acknowledge that I've got, like, I'm feeling really nervous or anxious at the moment, because we can just like watch a movie and cuddle. Like, whereas if he wasn't there, I would have no choice to face that. So just acknowledging that, like, that person doesn't change that I still,
you've got the things to work on as well. It's not like a filter where you get to just like block everything off and
exactly.
It's like your attention can go, and that's what I see a lot of that today, as where it's just like it's a temporary blanket over everything. I'm like, you know,
people just do the best with what they know at the time, and like, I guess anyone listening, like, if you take anything from this, just know that you don't need that safety blanket. Let your masculine hold your feminine. Let your feminine soothe your masculine. And this is one thing that's landed for me as of late as well, is that, like, I was feeling unsafe because my masculine wasn't holding my feminine, because my masculine was coming from that wounded place of needing to control everything, of needing to do the things, of keeping busy, of numbing, of distracting. And so when I can heal that masculine part of me, I don't need someone else. I desire to have someone else, but I don't need someone else to come and hold me when I'm feeling vulnerable, or to soothe me when I'm feeling sensitive, or to, you know, any of those things that you would treat a partner, like hope a partner would do for you. I get to, like, my masculine gets to do that for my feminine, you know?
Yeah, and on the back of that, that's I guess a trend I see a lot with you know, men and women as well. Like, they're maybe in a space or time in their life where things aren't so great and they're dealing with a lot of shit and it's all coming up, and then they find a partner and they're in this relationship, and like the next month they're like, whoa, I'm all happy. I'm like, bro, you know that shit don't go away, man. I'm like, this is just a distraction. I'm like, and I'm like, oh, like, do I tell him? Like,
Can't tell people.
Yeah, and that's what I'm like, okay, man. But it's like, it's just funny how you can see things like that, and it's like, okay. And I did that many times. I did that. I went from one partner to the next partner.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and that was just a vicious cycle or trend that I was in.
Yeah.
That obviously led me to a point where it all had to come crashing down sooner or later.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. I want to go into, I guess, the business side of things and lifestyle, being a mother.
Juicy.
How's that? How's that balance?
Fucking awesome. Balance doesn't
Is that
exist.
a fucking awesome, like, fuck?
It
awesome
is
or
fucking awesome. I detest the word balance, though. I don't think balance exists. I think balance is a concept that we're sold that we should try and always aspire to, but something that we never actually achieve. Balance is bullshit. I think, work out what your values are in your life and live according to your values. And then, because guilt and shame happen when you're living outside of your values. And so balance is just living your life in line with your values. So what I mean by that, if that sounds cryptic to anyone.
Yeah, can you break that down for some people?
Yeah, sure. So I followed Dr. John DeMartini quite closely, if anyone knows who he is. He is amazing, and he has this concept called the values assessment. He actually has a free test on his website. So jump on his website. I think it's DeMartini.com or drjohndemartini.com. If you Google it, it'll come up, and just say values test. And what that does, I remember it was probably November last year that I was listening to this podcast, and it was about values test. It wasn't DeMartini, it was someone else talking about the test. And I was like, whoa, this is actually like blowing my mind right now. And since then, I have not lived life the same, because what it gave me permission to do was to stop feeling like I have to do things and shooting and bringing into my life societal norms, because that's what I felt like I had to do. So, for example, it's shifted now hugely, but my son wasn't one of my highest values. And I say that with zero guilt and shame, because I know that that's my truth and I know that's real for me. And it doesn't mean that I love my son any less, but it just means that the value that I bring to the world, I acknowledged was not around the kind of parent that I was. I felt most alive when I was learning things, when I was creating things, when I was, when I was active, when I was at the gym. These were all having human connection, my business. These were all the things that really lit me up and made me go, fuck yeah, I love my life. That's since shifted. Now my son is definitely higher up in my values.
I was going to ask that because I was like, do you think that was an age thing, and do you feel like as age goes on, those values obviously change?
Yeah, definitely. They always shift and they always change. So don't think that you got the same values forever. It's all constantly shifting and changing depending on what your life looks like. And now that my son is my highest value. He, that is where I can bring the most value to the world, and I know that. Because you think of, so I'll give you guys a little bit of an overview of what the values test does and the purpose of it. It's not values in a sense of I value integrity and I value honesty. That's not what it's about. Values is, if you think of the word value means worth, or if we were to put it in a dollar figure, let's just say your value was money. How can you, where do you make the most money? Do you make the most money? And I'm not actually talking about money here, so please just keep an open mind here. This is just to give you a tangible example of what value equates to. But where would you make the most amount of money in your life? Would you make the most amount of money by keeping your house nice and clean and interior decorating it? Or would you make the most amount of money from doing podcasts and having epic conversations with people? Probably the latter, probably the second. So therefore, your podcasting is a higher value for you because it allows you to be of more value. Whereas previously, me being a mother, I was being of value to my son, but I wasn't really it wasn't how I could bring the most amount of value to the world. The most amount of value I could bring to the world was through the things that I learned, the people that I connected with, and the women that I supported in their businesses. Like I said, that's since shifted. Now that my son's a little bit older, we have a much stronger bond and connection, and he is my number one my number one value, my second being my business. So because they're both my highest values, but they're also both very demanding of my time and energy, when I get asked this question around balance, I say it's not balance that I need, it's boundaries. So when I have my son, I have very firm boundaries about what I'm willing to do that's going to compromise my time with him, and vice versa with my business. I've got very firm boundaries around that and who I'm willing to let into my space to influence me, to be a part of what I'm creating, clients that I bring on board, anything that's going to affect my energy when it comes to my business. So it's not about balance, it's about boundaries, knowing your values and having really firm boundaries around them.
Yeah, and I'm much the same in that as well. Like, my thing's time. Like, I don't let people fuck with my time.
Yeah.
And I know where my time lies all the time. I don't know if that's just like me trying to be the control freak over everything, but I know where I got time everywhere in my week. I can tell you next week what, like, my spaces and gaps. I'm just like, that's just.
Yeah.
And people are like, hey, because I'm quite relaxed now compared to I used to be all over the place. Everything need to be go, go, go. Well, I'm like, nah, I know where my time is. And even if I do run over in certain spots, I'm like, yeah, I know I can like juggle it and shuffle it.
Yeah, so you probably got a very high value for like organisation and time management.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's one of my highest ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that when you're breaking it down. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
What's one of the most challenging things that you find in business for yourself?
For myself, at the moment, I had a PA earlier this year, and she was amazing. She was really great. But then when COVID hit, I just didn't really need her anymore because business sort of slowed down. And to be honest, I just took a 3-month holiday, and it was really great. I don't regret it at all. So I let her go through that time. And at the moment, I'm just now outsourcing to a VA again, and getting someone else on my team. But that's definitely probably the biggest challenge that I have currently is the isolation in business. Like, being in business for yourself can be very lonely, you know. Often a lot of the clients that I work with mums that run their own businesses, and most of them just operate from home. So they have a little home office, and like, if they're operating in their home office 2-3 days a week, they're stuck in a little room by themselves, no other adult conversation except for with their customers or clients, and it can be very isolating, and you don't have anyone to bounce ideas off or to share your challenges or to get feedback on things. So I think the most important thing is who you're in proximity with, and I make sure that I'm constantly surrounded by people that are high achievers, that are wanting to create something in their life. And when I say high achievers, I don't necessarily mean people that are really successful in business. I just mean people that are wanting to create more in life, whether it's you want to be a really fucking good parent or whether it's you want to be a really amazing gardener. Like, just they have something that they're passionate about and they work on their craft every single day. They're the sorts of people that I fill my space with and I fill my energy with.
Those values.
Yeah, that we share the same value for growth and development and self-development. So they're the kinds of people that I make sure that I keep around me. So if anyone can relate to that and you're in business for yourself, and if there's any piece of advice that I would give you is make sure that you have a structure and a system around your who you're in proximity with, whether it's you go to a meetup once a week, or you're part of a networking group, or you have a group of business friends and you have a Facebook messenger chat or whatever it is.
Those interactions are so important as well. I call it my high vibe homies. I got my high vibe homies.
Yeah.
And that's just,
that's cool.
that's just
like
how they are. Yeah, they know who they are. And I call them up. We have the chats, and that allows creativity as well. Like, a lot of people don't realize. Like, okay, I realize this. Having a few different offices over the years, and like I had an office down in Burleigh. It was really cool, but I was there by myself. I had other desks and shit there, but I'm like, it was so daunting.
Yeah.
Well, there's other people there as well, and then I've been in office spaces where there's other people around, like, and I'm so creative. Like, and even like back in the day, like working away, like up north, like we had a big office, and there was so many people there, and it was just like, you got to have the interactions, like the people. It allows creativity and flow. I never realized it fully until I had an office by myself. I was like,
your environment is just so potent to the results that you get in your life. Like, show me the 5 people you spend all your time with and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
Like, it's been said for decades, and it could not be more true as it was when it was first said probably a century ago as it is today. Is show me the 5 people you spend all your time with and I'll show you your future. So if you're in business for yourself or just doing anything, your environment is going to dictate how you feel, your energy, your creativity, your just everything. So make sure you're around people that lift you up, that believe in you, that support you, that that just want to see you fucking win.
Yeah, and on the back of that as well, obviously that quote's been around for a long time, but now with technology, we're actually be able to connect with people a lot better and a lot easier
this goes
as well.
for like people online.
Utilize it, like now people, the 5 people I hang around. Yes, personal, being in conference with people is important, but now we've got this technology that's so. Like, you can get connected with someone so easily. And
you can like binge watch someone's YouTube or Instagram 5 hours a day, and boom, they're the person that you spend most of your time with. You're influenced by them. Yeah. They might not know it, and that's why we get to have we get to be very cautious and aware of what we're putting in our space. So a little while ago, it's actually funny because it really triggered a few of my friends, or like acquaintances rather. But I was following about 2,500 people on Instagram, and I was like, why? Like, I was seeing some random shit pop up on my feed, and I was like, why am I following all these fucking people that I don't even know? So I went through and I unfollowed. Literally, I went from 2,500 down to about 300. It's back up to about nearly 600 now, I think. But I literally got rid of everyone that doesn't like inspire me, or that isn't that doesn't inspire me, or isn't in my like immediate network that I want to, like my family and my sisters and that sort of thing, and my closest friends. I kept them on there. But like, if you're just someone that I used to work with a couple of years ago and we've just got each other, you're gone. If we went to school with each other and maybe we were friends in high school but we haven't talked in 5 years, you're gone. And that was a really powerful experience for me, because I noticed such a shift in like when I would get on the scroll train and go through that bored scrolling phase. I would only see things that were inspiring and quotes, and see people doing epic stuff, and see like podcast interviews, and see like just really cool stuff, rather than like someone complaining because someone fucking ran into their car, or complaining because they have to stay back at work, blah blah blah. Yeah, so go through who you're following on social media and make sure that you're filling your space with people that inspire you.
I play this game when I used to drink with people and party. I used to shush your feed. And I used to get grab someone's phone and say, hey, shush your feed. You get a real good glimpse of who they are and what they're like straight away. I used to play it all the time. Like, shush your feed. Like, script for scroll for one. Here you go, have it back. And like, I could nearly talk. I could tell you, like, it's so easy to pick and play, because you are what you consume. Yeah, you are what you consume.
100.
What content you consume, you will be.
Yeah, and it's not to say that you don't still love the people that you unfollow, but like, I had old friends and like former clients and stuff reach out and be like, oh, you unfollowed me. What'd you do that for? What did I do wrong? Blah blah. And I'm like, babe, chill. Like, I'm just being really cautious of what's in my environment, and right now your content isn't inspiring me. It doesn't mean I don't love you any less, but right now I'm just gonna,
like, some people don't even use Instagram. I got people on there that don't use Instagram that are my friends, which is fine. Like, I don't fucking hate yous. You don't post shit. I'm like, bro, like, you ain't use it. Like, why do I want to follow you? I'll get on there because I want to see what people are doing. Yeah, that's not anything offensive towards you. But yeah, it's there's those awkward conversations where people are like, did you block me? Yeah. I'm like, no, I didn't even know how to block someone until long ago. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that, bro. Some people have got a block list like so long, because this is a topic that I talk about so long. I'm like, what are you blocking everyone for? Just something for? I'm like, what's
a fear of like
what are they gonna do?
Fuck you. I think it's
It's like a fuck you.
I know, because I had my ex and his girlfriend blocked for ages.
Oh, here we go.
They're not blocked
You're one of those
guys. Literally, there were only 2 people on my block list.
Okay.
They're unblocked now, though. We good now. We good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Cross that bridge?
Yeah, we crossed that bridge. Not quite at the following each other stage, but we occasionally, I check on his stories when he's got our son, and I see him creeping on my stories when I've got our son. So we're good. We're getting there.
You're getting there. You go across that
Baby
bridge.
steps.
Yeah. I want to know, like, what's some of the shittest times you've had in your life? Let's talk about blooper reels.
Blooper reels. Definitely last year, 2019, for sure, was the most transformational year for me. Like, I'll be the first to admit it, from probably March to probably September last year, I was not a very nice person to be around. Like, I was oscillating between like depression and anger and denial and disconnection, and just like, it was just a pot of not nice emotions that I was moving through but didn't know how to deal with properly and healthily and effectively. Pretty much had a intervention when I went up and visited my family in September. A family friend of mine sat me down and was like, what are you doing? Like, where's the kind person? And I was like, you know what? You're right. She hasn't really been around, has she? And that sort of was like the slap in the face of like,
it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like,
someone's like, when someone like that you close that knows you pulled your side.
Yeah.
Like,
you're
especially
like,
when you're like,
can't hide from it now.
I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, if he's telling me, I'm like, this must be true.
Yeah. And it was done with so much love and respect. So I was just like,
see, you got lucky.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't come with love and respect.
Well, it wasn't coming from love and respect from other people. So I was just like fighting back at it. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You had the sword up. It was a swing.
Yeah, that's
like,
it.
Fuck you.
But until it was like, hey, like, what's actually going on with you? Like, where is the loving, compassionate, kind girl gone? And I was like, ooh, shit.
I killed her. She's dead. She ain't ever coming back.
Nah, it woke me up real quick, so it was good. It was much
good.
needed. It was like, you know, I'd gone through the grieving process. I did a podcast episode. If anyone wants to jump on to my podcast, The Embodied Businesswoman, I did a podcast with Lisa Potter, the death doula, a couple of months ago, about grief and about how grieving something doesn't have to mean that they died. Like, you grieve more than just death. Yeah. You grieve the death of an identity. You can grieve the death of a life that you imagined for yourself. You can grieve the death of an opportunity that you thought you were going to get. There's so many different ways in which we grieve, and when we can understand our own grieving process and recognize it, we can have a lot more compassion for ourselves. And the reason why I was probably not a very nice person to be around in 2019, or for most of 2019, was because the earlier part, was because I just didn't understand what I was experiencing. I didn't realize that I was going through grief, and it wasn't until I went to Woodford. I go to Woodford every year, except I won't be going this year. They cancelled it. So sad. But last year at Woodford, I was listening to a talk on grief, and I was like, holy fuck. I don't know why I was drawn to that particular tent on that particular day at that time, but I was there and I was listening. It was divine. And he was talking about grief, and I was like, holy fuck. Like, I feel like you're just describing to me what I lived. Like, I was through the other end of it by this point, but it just gave me insight as to like, oh, okay, that's what it was. That's why it was so difficult to shift. That's why I couldn't express what was going on for me, because I didn't actually understand it. And so that empowered me to understand it a little bit more. So my grief podcast is...
and I'll put the links to your podcast and everything in the description as well, so everyone can go and find you. And we're going to lead into that as well. How's podcasting been for you?
Oh, so much fun. I love it. Just having powerful conversations with amazing humans is like, wow, yeah, I do that all day, every day.
Yeah, no, it's good. Hey, it's good
so
fun.
Good. Yeah.
Because we're getting close to the last bit, I got the last couple of questions that I want to ask you, and it is, you get one wish, right? Imagine I'm a genie. I kind of am a genie.
Okay, genie.
Bang, one wish. What would it be? If one wish to change anything in the world, what could you change?
Do we want to go down that path? Yeah, let's fucking go down that path. There was one wish, I would say, end the human trafficking. Straight up, that would be it. That would be the only wish that I would have. That and a just one.
You can have two. Okay.
Well, originally I was gonna say there's nothing I want to change about my life, so you can just give me a bigger ass, and I'll be happy with that.
You want a big ass? You want a big ass?
Not a big one, just
we
slightly
can get
bigger.
into this topic too, because this is a topic I want to know. I've had this conversation 2 days ago. So the one wish, round it up. Yes, you would like to stop the children trafficking.
Yep, child trafficking and that shit.
Okay, done. Definitely, that's a really good one. And then I'm going to ask you, And then we're going to talk about the ass thing. That's a topic I want to talk about too now that you brought that up.
He doesn't like talking about ass.
Yeah. Let's say, what's some piece of advice? What's your tip?
Golden advice.
Like, what's some advice? What's your hot tip to someone?
Don't underestimate the power of patience. Like, anything in life, whether it's healing, whether it's growth, whether it's moving through something, whether it's developing a deep relationship, whether it's connecting more with yourself, like whatever it is, do not underestimate the power of just being patient with that and not expecting things to happen overnight.
Bang.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's hot tip.
Hot
there
tip
you go.
for you.
Hot tip for you,
Tease
mate.
a hot tip.
Okay, let's talk booties, because this is a topic that I've been talking about the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who I was talking. I think this is a topic. I've only had this topic conversation twice.
Mm-hmm.
Are fake booties a letdown? Like, I've never touched one because now everyone's getting fake booties and stuff.
I didn't know that. Thank you for enlightening me on that.
No, this shit's for real. Because I've been at the gym heaps of times.
Yeah, no.
You know, and
I want to work hard for that shit. Like,
do that. Don't do this other thing. 'Cause for me, like, I'm an ass guy. I look at most girls' booties. I'll just put it out there. I'm sorry. And I'm not sorry actually.
Don't be sorry.
And I've seen a couple of women around, and they, like, you know, I haven't seen them for maybe a week or two or whatever. And they come back and they've got this like big ass. I'm like, that's not real.
Yeah.
I'm like, you brought that. I'm like, that's not real.
Dang.
But like, I don't know any guys that have partners that have got one.
I don't know anyone that has one.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I can't give you the dirt
I want
on
to have
that
this
one.
conversation. If someone's out there and they know this topic, please get in touch with me. I want to talk about this because, like, I'm curious. I'm like, is it a letdown? Does it feel the same?
I don't
Like,
know.
what is it like?
Go ask one of the girls at the gym. Like, can I just cop a feel for a quick sec? See what she says. No, I've got it because I got a fitness industry background. Owned 2 gyms in the past. When I owned the gyms, I was a little cardio bunny, like doing HIIT workouts and that sort of thing. So I had like no muscle definition. And then I decided to compete in WBFF in a bodybuilding competition. I did that in May in 2019. And in the 6 months leading up to that was the first time in my life I'd ever really focused on strength training only. So between, like, in that first 6 months, I built some muscle definition, but it was nothing crazy. But then after my competition for the rest of 2019, so from May 2019 until now, which we're now in August 2020, I've been, doing lots of strength training, eating a lot more food. I'm probably about 8 kilos heavier than what I sat at normally before I competed the first time, but it's all muscle, baby.
Yeah, all muscle.
All in my legs and my booty. So
that's it.
If you looked at photos, like, in comparison, like 2 years ago to now, I'm like, I had like pancake butt. Like, it was
did you have pancake booty?
Pancake booty.
You know what's the most?
I never lifted a weight, but now, like, I can hip thrust 200 kilos on my hips.
Oh,
which
you
is
go, girl.
pretty fucking.
Do you make eye contact when you hip thrust? I've been talking to people that will, like, teach me how to hip thrust. I'm like, eye contact when you do it. And you got to put your tongue out. Do you do that?
I love that. I will do that next time I go to the gym. Catch a guy creeping. One time I had a real creepy guy come up to me and be like, it's so
wasn't
hard
me,
watching
was
you
it?
do that. No, it wasn't you. And I was like, mate, fuck off. But I'll keep that in mind next time I'm hip thrusting.
Make eye contact.
If I feel
and
any
then
creepers.
if you're a pro, you put the tongue out, like when you go. Like,
Yeah.
that's good effort. Good effort. 200's good. I've been doing hip thrusts lately.
Yeah.
But I feel just like really girls are just going crazy with the booties now. Like, I remember like a booty, seeing a good booty was just like, it was kind of like, it was very...
It's a rare commodity.
Yeah. Now I'm like, pro. Everywhere.
I love it. It's because girls are seeing that they don't have to be scared of the weights room. Like, I love being in the powerlifting room at the gym that I go to, and like, I'll be deadlifting 100 kilos and there'll be a chick next to me who's, lunging with 60 kilos on her back, and then a girl behind me hip thrusting with 100 kilos. And then there's like one guy over in the corner and he's like military pressing like 60 kilos. I'm like, boy, you outnumbered.
Yeah, you're getting outdone.
Yeah, I love it.
No, I'll go out there and out squat some girls too. No, I go in there. I don't actually go hard out like that. I'm more of a I like cardio shit.
Nah, I like the weights.
I like, because it's a mental game for me. I'm like, you want to stay on here? You want to stay on here? Like the other day, Tuesday, I rode a long time. I rode for like 40K. And I
that's a hard no for me.
I don't do the it's not for the actual the distance. It's the game in my head.
Yeah,
What I'm playing. I'm like, 20.
Yeah.
20. And I'm like, oh, no, we'll go 40.
Yeah.
That's the only bit that I like. I like that bit. I don't like it, but I like it. It's a love thing.
Yeah, I get you. I feel you.
Oh, fuck, we're going to do this. Like, have that little argument with my mind. That's why I like the ice bath. Because I got to have an argument with myself.
It's a mental conditioning, and that's like the mindset of anything, of business, of exercise, of anything is 80% mindset.
Yeah, I love that. But anyway, we'll leave that there.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
It was a fun little chat.
Yeah, well, it's a good chat, and appreciate your time. If you're out there and you're listening to this podcast on Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is, leave us some love. Spotify, rate us, review us, and if you're on that lovely YouTube, hit that subscribe button, baby. We love yous. We appreciate you guys. Tamara, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in.
See you in the next one. Peace.